In the scorching deserts of ancient Mesopotamia, a name struck fear into every heart: Pazuzu, the demon of the winds, the bringer of famine, and the master of plagues. Long before Hollywood's The Exorcist made him infamous, Pazuzu haunted the nightmares of kings and priests alike. Who was this terrifying entity? Why did ancient people both fear and worship him? And how did his dark image survive thousands of years to become one of the most terrifying demons ever known? Join us as we uncover the chilling truth behind Pazuzu, the most terrifying demon ever unearthed. Pazuzu, the most terrifying demon ever unearthed. Few demonic names have inspired as much fear, fascination, and confusion as Pazuzu, the ancient Mesopotamian demon who became infamous in modern times as the demon from The Exorcist. His grotesque face, with bulging eyes, snarling teeth, and wings of a vulture, became a symbol of ultimate evil after the 1973 horror film terrified global audiences. But Pazuzu's story is far older, and far stranger, than Hollywood ever imagined. Long before cinema, Pazuzu haunted the deserts and winds of ancient Mesopotamia, the land of Sumer, Babylon, and Assyria. He was not a simple evil spirit. He was both a destroyer and protector, feared for his power yet invoked to defend against even darker forces. Understanding Pazuzu means stepping back thousands of years, into the world's first civilizations, where demons were as real as storms and plagues, and where even the gods feared their wrath. Origins: the demon from the ancient winds. The earliest references to Pazuzu appear in Mesopotamian texts from around the 7th century BCE, particularly in Assyrian and Babylonian amulets and incantations. He was described as the king of the wind demons, ruling over the southwestern winds, winds that brought famine, drought, and disease from the desert. In ancient Mesopotamian cosmology, the natural world was filled with spirits. Every river, wind, and shadow had a divine or demonic presence. The winds, especially, were mysterious and deadly. When sandstorms swept across the plains, destroying crops and spreading sickness, people believed it was the work of Pazuzu. Texts and inscriptions describe him as Pazuzu, son of Hanbi, king of the evil wind demons. His father, Hanbi, was said to be the ruler of all demons, making Pazuzu a prince among them. Yet, despite this lineage, Pazuzu occupied a unique and paradoxical role in Mesopotamian belief, a demon who could ward off other demons. The appearance of Pazuzu: terror in form. Ancient amulets and statues give us a vivid image of Pazuzu. His appearance was deliberately terrifying, a fusion of human and beast meant to embody chaos itself. Archaeological discoveries show that he was typically depicted with the head of a lion or dog, with bulging eyes and snarling teeth. A human body, often emaciated, symbolizing decay and disease. For wings, representing his dominion over the winds. Bird-like talons and a scorpion's tail, blending creatures of air, earth, and the underworld. Sometimes, his right hand pointed upward and left downward, symbolizing his control over both heaven's winds and the underworld's forces. These statues were not meant for worship, they were tools of defense. People placed them in their homes or wore small amulets of Pazuzu to ward off evil spirits, especially one of the most dreaded demons of all, Lamashtu. Pazuzu versus Lamashtu, the demon protector. One of the most fascinating aspects of Pazuzu is his rivalry with Lamashtu, a female demoness who preyed upon mothers and newborns. Ancient Mesopotamians believed that Lamashtu entered homes at night to strangle infants, poison mothers, and drink blood. No god could stop her. But Pazuzu could. In ritual texts and charms, Pazuzu was invoked to protect pregnant women from Lamashtu's attacks. Amulets depicting Pazuzu's monstrous face were placed over the bed of the expectant mother. On the back of these amulets, inscriptions would read, "I am Pazuzu, son of Hanbi. I have come to drive away Lamashtu, daughter of Anu." To the ancients, Pazuzu's ugliness and fury were weapons against greater evil. By summoning a demon to fight a demon, they balanced the scales of the supernatural world. He was the lesser of two terrors, a necessary evil. Thus, while modern culture paints Pazuzu as a figure of absolute malevolence, ancient Mesopotamians saw him as a paradoxical guardian, one whose power to harm was also his power to protect. Symbol of the winds, destruction and disease. To understand why Pazuzu was so feared, we must consider the ancient worldview. For Mesopotamians, nature was not a neutral force, it was alive, moral, and intentional. The scorching desert wind could destroy lives overnight. It brought pestilence and madness, drying rivers and spreading decay. Pazuzu was believed to ride these winds. His breath could carry disease across cities. His wings stirred up sandstorms and famine. The Book of the Dead and various Babylonian exorcism tablets describe him as the one who howls from the mountains, a phrase that may have originated from the terrifying sound of desert winds howling through the night. When people fell sick or crops failed, priests would perform exorcisms not only to drive out Pazuzu but sometimes to appease him. He was both the cause and the cure. This duality made him one of the most complex entities in ancient demonology, not simply a villain, but a cosmic power embodying the chaotic balance between good and evil. Rediscovery, the demon unearthed by archaeology. For centuries, Pazuzu was forgotten, buried beneath the sands of time, his name lost to history. Then, in the 19th and early 20th centuries, archaeologists excavating sites in Iraq and Syria began uncovering strange artifacts, small bronze or clay statues with horrifying faces, wings, and inscriptions invoking protection against Lamashtu. At first, scholars thought these were idols of some forgotten god. But as more cuneiform tablets were translated, the name Pazuzu reappeared. By the 1920s, the academic world recognized him as a central figure in Mesopotamian demonology. Ironically, what ancient people feared and used as protection, modern society would soon turn into a symbol of ultimate evil, thanks to William Peter Blatty's 1971 novel The Exorcist and its 1973 film adaptation. Pazuzu and The Exorcist, from archaeology to pop culture horror. When The Exorcist premiered, audiences were horrified by the story of Regan MacNeil, a young girl possessed by a demonic force. Though the film never explicitly named the entity during possession, the demon's identity was confirmed through the film's opening sequence, an archaeological dig in Iraq, where Father Merrin discovers an ancient statue of Pazuzu. That single image, a towering, winged figure glaring over the desert, fused ancient mythology with modern horror. In the movie, Pazuzu became the personification of evil, mockery, and spiritual corruption. However, this portrayal was not entirely faithful to ancient belief. The film's Pazuzu was pure malevolence, an unstoppable satanic force. The Mesopotamian Pazuzu, by contrast, was a chaotic spirit who could harm or help, depending on how he was approached. Still, The Exorcist did something remarkable. It resurrected an ancient demon from 3,000 years ago and made him relevant again. It reintroduced modern audiences to a forgotten world of gods, demons, and ancient fears, a world where humans were constantly negotiating with the unseen. The real meaning of Pazuzu's power. At the core of Pazuzu's myth lies a profound truth about ancient human psychology: fear can be protective. Mesopotamians did not deny fear, they embraced it as a tool for survival. By creating an image of Pazuzu, by naming him and wearing his likeness, they believed they could control that fear. To wear the demon's image was not to worship him but to acknowledge his existence, to say, "I know you are there, and I will not ignore your power." It was an ancient form of psychological warfare against the unknown. In this sense, Pazuzu represented the boundary between chaos and order. He was the storm that destroyed crops, yet the same storm that cleansed the air. He was disease and cure, curse and blessing. This dual nature made him far more terrifying than simple evil, because he was unpredictable. And unpredictability, to ancient people, was the essence of fear. Rituals and exorcisms, invoking the demon. In ancient Mesopotamia, rituals involving Pazuzu were complex. Exorcists, known as Ipu, were trained priests who specialized in driving out or controlling spirits. They would chant incantations from cuneiform tablets, sometimes accompanied by small Pazuzu amulets or statues. A typical ritual might involve purification of space with water and incense, invocation of Pazuzu through his name and titles, King of the Evil Winds, commanding Lamashtu or other demons to depart, under threat of Pazuzu's wrath, sealing the ritual with protective symbols, often burying or hanging an amulet near the victim. What makes this fascinating is that the priests were not worshipping Pazuzu, they were using him, channeling his fearsome energy against other threats. He was a weapon of spiritual warfare, one that only the knowledgeable dared to wield. Pazuzu's legacy, from amulet to archetype. The rediscovery of Pazuzu has had a lasting impact beyond archaeology and film. He has become an archetype, the symbol of an ancient truth, that evil cannot be destroyed, only controlled. His image appears in art, literature, and even modern occult circles, though often stripped of its historical context. Some scholars see Pazuzu as the precursor to later demonic figures like Satan, Beelzebub, and Asmodeus. The concept of a fallen, winged being who rides the winds and spreads disease parallels later Judeo-Christian demonology. Indeed, the Hebrew word ruach, spirit or wind, carries the same duality, both divine breath and destructive storm. In this way, Pazuzu's influence quietly flows beneath centuries of myth-making. He is one of the oldest known named demons in history, the model for what humanity imagines when it thinks of ultimate evil. The psychological power of Pazuzu. Even today, the image of Pazuzu provokes a visceral reaction. His monstrous face stirs something primal, a reminder of our ancient fear of the unseen. Yet, there is also a deeper layer to his symbolism. Pazuzu represents the human attempt to understand suffering. In ancient times, people had no scientific explanation for disease, storms, or madness. They personified these terrors into beings they could name, depict, and perhaps control. Pazuzu was not just a myth, he was a coping mechanism, a way to bring order to chaos. Modern psychology might call this externalization, giving form to inner fears. Ancient spirituality called it demonology. And in both cases, it reveals something profound: to face fear, humanity must first give it a face. Archaeological discoveries, echoes of the demon. Today, many Pazuzu artifacts reside in museums around the world, including the British Museum, the Louvre, and the Iraq Museum in Baghdad. Each one tells a story of fear and faith. The most famous example, a small bronze Pazuzu head from Nimrud, ancient Assyria, bears inscriptions that read, "I am Pazuzu, the son of Hanbi, king of the evil spirits of the air. I go about to harm the wicked." These objects, once buried under the floors of homes or hung near infants' cradles, are now silent witnesses to humanity's oldest struggle, the fight against invisible evil. The demon that refused to die. Pazuzu's story is unlike any other. He began as a wind demon in the deserts of Mesopotamia, both feared and revered. For thousands of years, his name was forgotten, only to rise again through archaeology, literature, and film, reclaiming his throne as the world's most infamous demon. But what makes Pazuzu truly terrifying is not just his monstrous form or his ancient curse. It is his timeless relevance. He embodies the idea that fear itself is immortal, that the same winds which haunted ancient Mesopotamia still whisper through modern nightmares. Pazuzu's legacy reminds us that fear itself can outlast empires. From the dusty ruins of Mesopotamia to the haunting scenes of The Exorcist, this ancient demon continues to cast his shadow across time. His story blurs the line between myth and reality, a warning that darkness often wears the face of protection. What do you think? Was Pazuzu merely a symbol, or something far more real? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time as we unearth more terrifying truths from the ancient world.